I'm in my office. A few weeks ago, we ordered a whole bunch of what's considered the top selling vegan plant-based proteins. And we really wanted to compare and taste ourselves before we went to market on our branded ingredient, NiHTEK Protein Isolate, 85%. We really wanted to compare and see what's out there. We wanted to taste the difference, the texture. And of course, these are finished product. They're not raw ingredients. So they're using a lot of fillers, masking agents, and sweeteners in there. But we wanted to compare, and also the texture and viscosity. So we tried them, okay? And today I'm not gonna focus just on the taste, although that's an important factor. And wow, I certainly couldn't drink these every day. In fact, you couldn't pay me to drink them even once. Well, actually I did try them. But one thing was really shocking was the actual purity, the protein purity itself. Now, you guys can do this at home. You can go on the internet and check the protein purity yourself. It's very, very easy to do. You simply get the amounts of protein per serving size. So let's, for example, it's 25 grams of protein and it's a 31 gram scoop. Okay, you divide 25 by 31, you get the protein purity. So this is a factual, not subjective. This is very objective. Simply going to show you what the protein purity on some of the world's top vegan proteins are out there. Now, some of you may already know this information. I think a lot of you are not really looking at these details, and maybe you should, because this is what you're paying. We've got here the organic plant protein from Garden of Life, very, very popular. The very popular and considered, I think, one of the most popular Vega original plant-based. We've got the Optimum Nutrition gold standard 100% plant-based. The very popular brand and considered very high quality brand, NutriBio plant protein, and Allmax from Canada, the ISO plant. So in working out the protein purity is very easy, as I said. So for example, we pick up the Garden of Life Organic Sport. We flip around the nutrition facts, and it's 2 scoops, 42 grams per serve, and 30 grams of protein. You divide those two together, and you get a 71% purity. Vega, okay, very, very popular for the plant-based world. And looking at the Vega, 2 scoops, 46 grams, 25 grams, and you're looking at a whopping 56%. 56% in the Vega. Not very high. And people are paying a lot. It's not a cheap product too. Now, the Optimum Nutrition, considered, well, at least Optimum Nutrition Whey Gold Standard, the dairy version, is considered the #1 protein powder in the world. This is their plant-based version using pea protein and mung bean, and 37 grams of protein per serve and 24 grams scoop. So you're looking at 66%. Wow, 66%. And not a cheap protein, 66% protein, and not very pure. NutriBio, again, considered a very high quality brand. They don't specialize in plant protein, but nonetheless, so we flip around the nutritional facts, and then we can see the protein purity. The protein purity, 28 grams served, 20 grams of protein, 71 grams. So pretty high for a plant-based protein. Almost as similar to the Garden of Life. And here, the ISO plant by Allmax, a very small serving size, very expensive when you're buying this small. Okay, and you're 20 grams of protein, 30 grams served, and you're looking at 65% in the purity. So, you know, that's just a few small examples, and by all means, check yourself. But when you're comparing dairy protein, whey protein isolate with the finished product, then you are going to be getting around 78 to 83% purity. Now, so here we are at my home with my lovely collection of Diamondized ISO 100 hydrolyzed whey protein isolate, and We look at the back on the serving size. So here, 32 gram serving size and 25 grams of protein. So as you can see, that was 32 grams served, 1 scoop, and 25 grams of protein, making it 78, nearly 79% purity. So as we saw earlier, the vegan top is 71%, and the diamidized iso 100, a whey protein or hydrolyzed whey protein isolate, 78, nearly 79%. Now, when I say finished product, that includes the sweeteners, fillers, emulsifiers, all of the things that these finished products add in, the flavors. You know, it's a chocolate. They have to add chocolate flavor. They have to add sweetener. They have to have emulsifiers so it all stabilizes and stays together, etc., etc. Now, the vegan proteins have to do the same. But the big difference between dairy and vegan proteins in the finished product size is 2 major factors. And one being, most of these plant-based protein brands are usually buying the cheapest, most impure form of protein to begin with, because they're generally not all. Some are better brands and they do try to choose and purchase raw material that is higher quality. But in general, most of them, unfortunately, are looking at price only and not quality. Okay, so if you're doing that, they're buying a protein purity that's somewhere between 65%, maybe maximum 80% purity, because it's cheaper. If you buy a raw protein ingredient that is 85 or 90%, it's going to be more expensive. So that's one reason the protein purity is a lot lower in some of these other protein brands. Now, the other reason also is because the taste and texture is usually pretty bad, in fact horrible, when it comes to a lot of these plant-based proteins compared to dairy. So they have to use a lot more tastes and fillers, flavoring agents, to mask the original taste. Now, because whey protein isolate doesn't have such a funky taste and the texture is a lot smoother, they don't have to use as many impurities. So for a dairy-based protein, whey protein isolate, I've done the maths again. This is a factual. You do your own maths and tell me what it works out to be. Most dairy-based proteins will generally fall in the range between 75 and 83% purity. And you guys can work that out yourself. And working out how much fillers, you can also do that, because a whey protein isolate is 90% purity. And if it's a 90% purity and the finished product is, say, 83%, so therefore there's a 7% gap. And that 7% gap is the impurities or the fillers and masking agents and sweeteners inside it. Now, the gap in a lot of these plant-based proteins is much more difficult to figure out because we don't know the original purity of the plant-based protein. But at a guess, and just using my educated guess, and also when you taste a lot of these plant-based proteins, it's oversweet and it's over masked in flavors because the taste is so bad. You can still taste the bad stuff, but you can tell like they use too much sweetener and too much flavoring and too much thickening agent and all of these things, because they know that their raw material source is so bad they have to make up for it. So again, a dairy-based protein is going to be somewhere around the 6.5%, and I have seen some that have some exceptional flavors that could go up to 10%. So that's the dairy, so 6.5 to 10%. A lot of these plant-based proteins, it's only my guesswork, but I believe that they're using up to 12 to 20% fillers and masking agents in their protein, some even more, so it tastes, well, acceptable. But again, I don't think it's acceptable. I think it's worse, because if you have a funky, very thick, horrible product to begin with, and then you add a bunch of sweeteners, now it's a a sweet, horrible protein. You know what I mean? It tastes bad. If you start with bad, let's say, excuse the French, shit in and shit out, then it potentially is going to be worse. And I think actually the raw material is in some ways tastes better than some of these very funky, over-sweetened, over-flavored and heavily masked proteins as well. So that's my little take. I hope it's been informative. One thing I'd like to leave you with, and this is something we have been working on behind the scenes day and night for years, is perfecting our NiHTEK Nipro protein isolate, and not only making it taste incredible, not only having a great amino acid profile that is very high in DAS, equal to or better than dairy-based protein, also having very high amounts of leucine in it per serve, but also having a high purity, 85% on our first version. So when you have a product that tastes amazing, mixes amazing, and you don't need therefore to add a lot of impurities as masking and filling agents and sweeteners, and you're starting with an 85% purity to begin with, then your finished product is also going to be very, very high in purity. So using our protein, and we have a recipe that we supply with our branded ingredient that is created by a very amazing partner company that we work on together in Tokyo, Japan, you will only need to use approximately 7% agents, sweeteners, and in to create the finished product. That's only 7%. With an 85% protein, using 7% fillers, we're 78% purity in a finished product. Your brand, if you're looking to manufacture with Nipro Protein Isolate. Now, we don't sell to every brand out there. We're very selective on the brands we choose. We are a premium, high quality protein ingredient, and therefore only looking to work with premium, high quality brands throughout the world. So formulating with ours, you have a great tasting protein, amazing, that most consumers will not know the difference between our Nipro protein and a dairy-based protein. Two, you're not going to use a lot of masking agents that become sickly tasting, but also are not good for the consumers. And three, you're going to have a very, very high purity in your protein because A, it starts with a high purity, and B, you don't need to dilute that purity with a lot of fillers and taste. So I hope that was informative. This is 100% a factual, objective view. You can do your own mathematics on dairy proteins, on the vegan proteins of the world, and by all means, ask us for a sample, get in contact with us, and we'd be happy to show you and teach you more about Nipro protein, the next generation dairy-free protein by NiHTEK.